Good evening, guys. Well, this is a bit of a delay. Usually we have it on Friday, but welcome to the Joshin-Strike podcast. We've got Kras here, who is a rifler for Canon event previously, as they got relegated down to ESA Open. So decided to have him on today. A bit of an upgrade on Flam. Nah, I'm not going to flame Flam that bad. Anyways, how you been going today, man? How's Prac?
Yeah, pretty good. Run a couple of teams, Blitz, Rooster, KZG, and new maps coming from our pool.
Mm-hmm.
We did some slamming and got slammed, but every time we get slammed, we learn, so I don't really mind. And Scrim's just a way to improve and test out your stuff, so results shouldn't matter. It's how you feel about what you've prepared and what you're comfortable playing with to change, really.
I don't know. Foggers have told me that if you go 24 and 0 in scrims, that you win all your matches. So I think, I might trust Foggers. Should I trust Foggers on this one?
I don't think I have yet to go 24 and 0 in a scrims match, so I can't put my piece of information on that. But I think Foggers is still an ECL, which is an upgrade from what my team is currently facing. So probably he has the information, it's like the secret. Go 24 and 0 and win all your officials. That's how they're in.
About the other part of practice as well, did Rooster wait a minute and 40 seconds this time before they hit your site, or was it a bit quicker? They waited for a minute and 20 seconds before releasing every single player onto your site.
Rooster is very respectful, both in their officials and their scrims. They kind of they play it the same way as they would play an official in a scrim, but just a little bit quicker. They're still, you can see them trying different things. Rooster a month ago to Rooster now, they're completely different. How they're playing their CTs and T sides. It's they're there to practice how they play in an official, and that's probably why they've gone. They're qualified for EPL now, and you can kind of see that was just deserved. They beat FlightQuest. They beat all the teams under them, and they're really good.
So they respect the no rush 15 minutes. Have you ever played an RTS game where they have NR 15 or anything like that, or you're a bit too young for that?
No, I'm once again too young, but also probably have not played any other games besides first-person shooters. I'm an iPad kid like that. I can't play anything that requires me to sit there for 10 minutes shooting something.
I should say, so back in the old days of StarCraft, they used to have games and customs that has NR 15, so you don't rush after 15 minutes. And I was trying to make a joke about Rooster, Rooster respect those NRs, 15 minutes, no rushing.
Yeah.
But anyways, man, so with Canon event in particular, so you got Open launching in a week. How are you guys looking forward to that at the moment? You're seeing some pretty good teams in there as well. We're seeing some teams, Vantage Academy as well. I saw that one sneak under the radar. Any other teams that, you reckon it could be a threat to your ascendancy back to ESA Challenger? ESL Challenger?
I have checked yesterday. I think currently the best team within the registered teams is, I think, Lilacs, apart from us, because I know I have to believe in my team. We're the number one team in Open right now. And we'll see how that goes, but I think Lilacs, the best currently registered. I know that Blitz has been having some switch-ups with their lineups, so they'll probably get in before the season starts. But I think Deadweight's gone, and the Open winners who are playing in Open are also gone, so I don't think there's any other teams that really I can see right now that rival me and my team, but I think there's a stack on Prac with Tetster, Valiance, Ricke.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be the most scary team, but I haven't seen them join Open yet.
Yeah.
Really, I hope they don't join Open, but I can't control that. So
I really hope they join Open.
If they're in, we're gonna win.
I really hope they join Open, because they'll give a lot of experience and stuff like that to, especially a lot of the rosters in ESA Open as well. Good learning curve for you guys as well.
It depends though. Depends. Experience, you can get it from a team that would rush you first 10 seconds of the round, they probably would. But I think it's better to play against teams like Rooster that let you play that your stuff, and you see you run into a wall. Mainly the wall was Netic, just killing everyone. But the whole of Rooster's a wall on site. If your Etsy isn't up to scratch, you're gonna just fall and lose. But you have to experience rushes. I play comp for 2 experienced rushes at 2 a.m. in the morning, but versing Tetster would probably be the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say
10-second rush by Mac 10 in cave.
I was gonna say, is that wall called Netic? And I'm damn, he entered it for me. But anyways, I gotta say, with what about the university stuff with CS at the moment? Like, how's that developing? Because I know RMIT is a big proponent of it, and there's all these other universities as well. Is that still continuing?
Yeah, so there was a small break in AEL seasons when CS2 was getting released. So there was the last CSGO one,
Yep.
and then there was a break, and then the next season of like semesters, there was the CS2 one. There probably will very likely to be future ones. I mean, I think they have the money, the funding, and like the team behind it to just keep pumping them out. And like, I mean, it's a good spot, like to play. Like, there's good players in there, but it's like you're playing against people that like are taking the game seriously. If I were to put it, it's like some games it's below open and some games it's above open.
Yeah.
But it's like that experience range. You just like you're playing in a structured team, and it's like a really good gateway to get into like structured CS if you're in a uni. I mean, the entry's a little bit screwed. Like, you gotta be in the uni first doing courses. But it's like I met a lot of good like players from there. I mean, I think half of Canon event, like the people that have come in and out, are from my uni team. So like players like Hun, Redav, and Septic.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's on the low, but Dead set our sub as well. So like half of Canon event have been UNSW players.
Yep. And also, I gotta say,
on the topic, yeah.
No, continue. No, you continue, mate. Sorry, I thought I had a timing.
No. So the topic on RMIT or half DXA. I don't know how they still have that team. I think Roflico's on like a 10-year degree or something. I don't know how he's managed it. But I think they've won the past 2 AELs with like 0 defeats, apart from us in group stage. But according to Roflico, it doesn't count as a loss until you beat them in a BO3. And unfortunately, we fumbled the bag against UTS and ended up 3rd. And the funny thing about 3rd is that each player in our team got about $120. And me coming 9th in ECL got the team $100.
That's pretty good to me.
So I made more money in Uni League than in the highest tier of Australian CS.
Well, that's because you came 9th. That's all I'm going to say, Kraz, okay? If you finished a bit above, you may have got a bit more, okay? Also, I should ask James. I should ask James how long he's been in university for and what sort of degrees he's studying for at this stage.
You probably won't answer that question. It's a very long time.
That one guy in particular, my law degree class, he like was there for like 7 years at the end because he kept failing property law and torts. I'm sitting there going like, I failed torts really badly when I had like a bad cold and whatnot. I have no idea how you failed torts, but anyways. So with uni esports in particular, any big players have come out of uni esports other than, of course, Ruffleco? Anyone else?
Nothing really comes to mind. Because in the first... Okay, I've only played 2 seasons of AEL. One was the last CSGO one, and one's the first CS2 one.
Yep.
So in the Go one, I was in my uni's 3rd team because I missed trials.
Yep.
It was an experience. I'll put it that way and leave it that way. And then I subbed for the main team in playoffs, but they got relegated to my league. So there's main series and there's elite series.
Yep.
Elite series is the main team. Main series is the 3rd team. I played for the 3rd team. Sub for the main team when they got relegated down to the lower bracket. So that's when it was like the biggest.
Yeah.
And now that I'm playing in the CS2 like AEL, I've seen all the good players in the teams already from Open League. So that main drop off in like just like participation, I haven't seen any upcoming talent that like is not already known about.
I'm talking about like, you know, past players in particular. So obviously one example is Danger. You know, any other past players that have come up through that league?
I don't know if he came up, but from my uni we had I think maybe Viridian, Cirquest, but he's gone. We had the current best player on the team, Gibbs, but he's been in Comp CS and then he quit Comp CS. He didn't like it. Understandable.
Yeah.
Some older players. I don't know. I'm pretty new to Uni CS as well.
Yep.
I kind of came out of nowhere. That.
You know, we can reserve that question for Mitzi, okay? So,
yeah, Mitzi is well knowledged.
So with Open in particular, I want to go back to that. So the looks, you know, what's the biggest threat on the looks in particular? I mean, I saw them in Open as well. There's a few players, but who do you think's the biggest threat on there? Like, you know, the big player to watch out for?
I definitely have to say Sympathy, Denvin, or Kumo. They're all the same player. I don't know what name he goes by. It's Denvin. But I think rank 3 or 4 Orpa. Rank 3 or 4 Face It and Orpa. I think if he gets an AWP and we don't respect it, or he reads us, we might have some trouble. But I think our new picked up Supers is a better Orpa. I'm saying that as a part of Canon event, also because I believe it in my heart. But he can out anyone in open league, I reckon. But yeah, I reckon that's the main threat. I was just running into an AWP that's like really good.
I think Denvin and Kuma are two different names, I believe, because it's Denvin Huang. Okay, I think
I think that's one of his mates that took the name. Pretty sure.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because I didn't know that. Cause I thought,
because I was watching the open playoffs and the relegation series. I'm like, who is Kumo?
Yeah.
Where did Sympathy go?
Yeah. Well, I know who
name swaps.
I know who Kumo is. Okay, but there's another Denvin. It's like Devin Huang who subbed in for them. So they got to be different people. Okay, can't be Kumo dual boxing. Okay, because that would be incredible.
Too many names on that.
So, ever since you got relegated, what has Canon event been doing, basically? So, we guys to keep up your standard of CS.
Since we got relegated, we were recently LF2, so had to rebuild half the team in that break.
Yeah.
So we brought in Septic and Supers, one from my Unilead and one from a LFT post that was perfectly timed with Blizzard's quit. And they've come in and we had to go over all our maps again. And because they removed Overpass, one of our like better maps, if you ever watch, you never got to see us really play Anubis against a team that was like even because everyone just banded against us ever since we got 9 rounds on Greyhound in Grassroots.
Yeah.
But they took out Overpass and added Dust 2. None of us have played Dust 2 in comp, and none of us liked it. So we lost one of our maps, so we had to pick up Nuke and get our Inferno back up to stretches. That was our map that we had but did not want to play. If you've streamed us, you know why. We are either winning or losing hard and never want to play the map again.
Yeah.
But it's going really well. Things are speeding up progressively, and I think all our maps will be really solid soon. And that's all we've been doing during relegation. During the period between relegation and open, just 2 new players. It's half the team pretty much.
Yeah, just turning over a bit of the core as well. And then you have to get, to build up your map pool. Like, you guys know what ECL is now, and you're like going up, we need to have at least 3 or 4 maps we can play, and obviously 1 hard ban. And, like, if we don't have that map pool, we're not going to go very far in open, because at the end of the day with open, the BO1s are just, entree.
You need 3. You need 3 for a BO1, and then 6 for a BO5. A BO3.
Yep. And what I meant by that is that, you're just prepping for the BO3s, basically. The BO1s are just like, the entree, basically. And then you get the main course, of course.
Yeah. I mean, if it continues on with the top 24 teams playoff, the playoffs will be like an even bigger stage compared to like groups. You probably play more maps in general, but I think with if we don't turn out as many teams, we'll probably get into 8. But it's still a pretty long playoffs with double elim. So majority of the time in open leagues just spent playing playoffs. And before we qualified for UCL, we did, I'd say, pretty well in group stages since season 46.
Yep.
But every time we hit playoffs, we couldn't win a map in playoffs. It's just map pool too small, and maps weren't learnt enough. We just kind of beat group stages because it was a BO1, and then got the playoffs and died.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That should be fixed.
I've seen so many teams, both not in just AU scene, but in the EU scene, they're just BO1, what do you call it? BO1 bandits or BO1 merchants, basically. They only win BO1s and they collapse in the playoffs. But actually, it's an interesting question brought up by Cray. I mean, what are the newer maps that you enjoy? You got Mills and Thera. Have you played either of those maps yet?
Yeah, Cray invited me to the comp stack in the day they were released, and I got to play them with him straight away. But I've been playing them with my comp stack. I think both maps are extremely CT-sided, and it makes for a boring game because half the time I spent versing that strong CT side. And when I play it with duos or trios, I find that the strong CT side isn't as strong as my randoms keep leaking. So I've had a very bad experience with it, coupled with a bit of cheaters. But I think overall, the maps... I'll go over Thera first, which is one I don't like the most.
Yep, go for it.
I feel like it has some open areas which are nice, but majority of the map is very small corridors, claustrophobic, too many close angles.
Yep.
And then just like it's too confusing to learn. And I feel like all that like enclosure space kind of limits like teamwork, utility. It's like you kind of just buy a Mac 10 or your XM and you win on half the side of the map.
So it's like Nuke, for example.
Yeah. It's like you win lobby side, but you lose outside. It's just like there's nothing you can do really. It kind of plays the same to Nuke.
Yeah.
And then for both maps, they're just like they're too cluttered with stuff. Like I drop 100 frames straight away loading into the map. And that's like with a lot of new maps, they try to like over clutter it, make it like look really nice, and it's just like it ends up just like crunching performance, and like you don't have a good first time playing it because it's not smooth. Mills is a bit better. I feel it's like a lot more open. It plays like a normal like 2x2 grid map where it's like you have a connector from like A to B in mid, and it's like a like mid A B, and so you have like C T T connectors.
Yeah.
It plays like Dust 3.
Yep.
The only problem I find with it is that CTs can get deep A main and deep B main before the Ts can even see them.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's like kind of like...
So it just plays really badly.
That reminds me of Train at times as well, where, you know, if the CTs get into A main first, they can keep A main, and except the fact that they can't get to B main, really. But anyways, you know, it just reminds me of that. And if they can get onto both sides, it's just like, Ts don't have a chance. It's kind of like Ancient, but you don't need the utility to secure middle lane or A main.
Yeah. I feel like it's a good thing from Valve to not straight away and put it in the Premier map pool and put it in the comp pool, which is considered casual now because of how they like changed around things.
Yeah.
But I think if they put it into Premier pool, people would hate it more, but it would probably get better quickly. Because I think the maps do need reworks with like the timings and like how like claustrophobic they feel.
Is it more hated than Vertigo?
Like things. My team of Vertigo enjoyers, and that's my favorite map. I just do B on T side and walk up until I die. If I end up with 4 kills, we win the round. If I end up with 0, we lose. No, that's just how I like it. It's a very split map, isolated on both sides. But like with the new update, you can kind of play like A safer and just like focus more on B, which is the technically isolated side, but you have to hold it.
Yeah, B's like the biggest 1v1 side. Like, you put your best player on it, and you get some really good 1v1 duels, like, most of the time as well.
Yeah.
And you get some good mind games as well. So overall, like, what makes you enjoy Vertigo the most, okay? And especially the new changes. Like, what do you think's the better new change in Vertigo?
I really like... we call it connector, but it's like the opening of elevator.
Yep.
I find it makes things a lot more open. So when you're playing retates, you don't have to go through like heaven or elevator. You're like really cramped. I feel like when you're playing it for like a retake, or you're playing it to like watch them come up on site, everything's really open, and like you feel like you just have a lot more gunfights rather than like you're getting choke pointed and you're just losing, because it's like a lot more freedom. And another thing I really like about the changes is the change in like CT meta to play 2B main and just like fight for that. Yeah. And that gives a lot more like playability to like the B players. Like normally on old B and B Vertigo, you play like one person B and they just like they sit there watching a line the entire game and they get bored and cold. But now the entire map on CT side feels really like warm. Like you have a lot of action, and that's just what I like about the map.
Yeah, would like opening up of middle be even better as well? Like, for example, like you could wrap around to middle to A now as well, not just B.
I think middle is fine the way it is. It's one of few maps where middle isn't really that targeted like a lot, and I like that because middle is just dominated by AWPers, and I think the AWP should be deleted from the game. As a person who can't use it. But I think the map right now is really good, and if you don't like it, or your team doesn't like to play it, one, let us verse you on it and win in officials, but two, probably start learning. It's a really fun map.
So what makes it so much more open now with Vertigo? Like, what makes it more open? Like, is it like easy to retake, easy to take, not just a giant fog wall on ramp? What's the main thing that makes it open?
Very easy to retake A, and I think I think you see it more in pug demos rather than like scrim demos or like official demos. So like watching like the POVs on YouTube. But you can play like a play in elevator, watching towards train. That's like the entire like side cross.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you get smoked, with the current like meta smoke, it's like very thin, so you still kind of play it.
Yep.
But it's just like before, if you lose yellow, like you kind of just lost A.
Mm-hmm.
And your entire team was forced to like go through a choke point. And if the T's like just like won and aimed or like early into the game just on like ramp, they have too much utility. You just lose the site and it's just impossible to take. So I feel like just like by adding that extra like big like entranceway, T's have to use more util to take it. And CTs are like they can defend it from further back.
Yeah.
And they can retake it a lot easier.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well, because Eddie was showing this as well on his videos when he was doing his utility, that you can actually hold an AWP in middle from CT to hold A, so they can't like wrap around via secret.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that your AWPer might just leave your team. If you put him in CT the entire round, he's not going to do anything. But I think most AWPers just prefer to go yellow and peek that straight away. There's a lot of good flashbangs I see teams throw and kind of just like peek that straight away and just like have them get their fight out of the way. It is kind of like either you win or lose the round, but it's like you have that option to just play off of A and play for everything else if like your team's weak at that.
Oh, I was mainly highlighting the fact that, it's very easy to defend A, basically. Like, you don't have to rotate, as you said, through those choke points. You've got like a potential stop right away.
Is that default smoke when you're taking A is to smoke that like new like all off.
Yeah.
And if you're playing it all the way back in CT, it's like you kind of have to be forced to play retake.
Yeah.
And have no chance. Like you're forced to play 5v5 retake, and that's really dangerous for like both sides because it's like who has more utility and who's like more coordinated. The better teams win. But if like you have a better player in like a better spot like elevator, he can make it a 5v4 straight away.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make it really easier.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I say, anything you want to say to your fans before we get into the next parts of the show?
I can't specifically think of who my fans would be.
Just imagine all of them as Mitzi, okay?
All of it was Mitzi?
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is good thing the camera isn't pointed down.
Anyways, we'll get to the next part, which is obviously the interviews done for Kraz. And thanks for coming on as well. We'll talk about the next topics. Okay, the first topic is going to be, well, Snack's going to G2, okay? And also Mal's going to see G2 as well. And that's been a bit, I'm just going to put it this way, a bit out there, okay? A lot of people haven't been too happy, mainly Deadshot on Twitter. But anyway.
I've seen that.
Okay, so you get G2, picking up Snacks and Malbs, and then someone comes up with the Excel spreadsheet of how many role conflicts, and I haven't seen so many role conflicts in a script before, like, when you're coding and then everything comes up as exclamation mark. That was literally what I saw there. And it's a bit confusing because they benched Hooksy and Nexa. Nexa, I understand for Malbs. Hooksy for Snacks, I'm a bit off on. What's your take on that sort of movement from G2?
So on paper, if you ignore the IGL role, they got rid of their like lurker anchor and they got rid of their CT aggressor and entry. So I think Malbs fits that entry role perfectly. And if you select a team like Spirit, where Donk is their best player and their entry, you can kind of see what he does. So you can kind of see the G2 was going for getting a really good entry player to replace Hootsie, who wasn't statistically performing on that role. So I feel like you can like imitate like something like Spirit.
Yeah.
The only problem is you bring in Snats, who, as an IGL, is more like favored to play in the pack.
Yeah.
Or the strong sites. So that's where you've seen Malbs pick that he's gonna go anchor on CT. I hope that he retains entry on T side. But I think that having Malbs on like that solo site is really good because he has like that aim and that raw skill to just hold that down. Where like I'm gonna sound like a HLT forum user, but Neta didn't have the skill to do that. Which I mean, he's doing it in tier 1, and he's doing it pretty well. Can't really complain too heavily about that. Not probably to the standard of like JKS, but he had to be kicked for vibes, and I guess that worked. That they won Dallas. But I think Snats, if he could like role swap to a lurk or like anchor, I think that'd be really good because Malbs would have a slot in pretty much 1-for-1. But IGLing from like weak side or lurk, it's very hard to get a feeling of what's going on around the map and like where all like your like where all your players are and where all the actions are happening. You can't get a really good feel for that.
Yeah.
So that would be a really bad thing. But like that's like where like if Nita was IGL and Snats was just an anchor, that'd be really good. But I think it does require someone on T side to role swap.
Mhm.
So the Snats can play pack, Malbs can play entry as in the pack,
Yeah.
and Monacy's AWP, which are like is probably like Hunter does his own thing, and Nico has to play like more of a passive role.
Yeah.
Which I think it might be a strange take, but I think Nico on more passive roles and more like he has to live roles is good because you saw in Dallas where he was the IGL.
Oh, yeah.
Like instead of getting like crazy kills, like good positions, and like he's winning or losing the rounds based on like his kill. It's like he's in a space where they come to him and he gets like at least 2 kills because like that's the player he is.
Yeah.
I think if he just plays like more passively, I think all the new CS2 kids will just swing too wide into him and he'll get like more kills because like you've seen like the statistic like drop off from like CS2 to CS2. Maybe it would fit Nico better, but we'll wait and see. And like next tournament, I think it's the Esports World Cup that they're playing in. We'll see what happens there because you can do a lot of speculating, but like that you just keep it to the form probably for the best.
I'd say overall, like, you know, Snacks and Hooks, I can understand, like, they can't kick any more IGLs at this stage. I mean, they've gone through Alex B, they've gone through Carrigan. I mean, there's not many left. You can't pick up Suey from Mouse because Mouse can be like, get stuffed and, you know, raise his buyouts fee, and not to mention that Suey's not going to leave. And then you look at all the other IGLs and they're like, well, they're not going to leave either. And given that they've kicked about 3 or 4 IGLs, every IGL's going to be like, do we want to be leading that? So Snacks is probably the only one they could really get that has experience and whatnot. And I do agree with you that Nico plays more passive role. You know, I've seen a lot of teams in particular where they will send out a weaker player out to either entry or trade. So they die, get the information, and their better players, like Nico, for example, goes bang, bang, knows where the second player could be, and has the better aim. And as you said, this stat, you know, when he's playing more passively, gets 1 point. You said was it free for, or did you not say a stat?
I don't think I said a stat. I think you said like at least that's 2.
Oh yeah, he can net 1 or 2 basically as well. And I think it showed in Dallas in particular where Stewie was just like the sacrificial lamb. They just put him out like a deer in the headlights. And then whenever Stewie dies, he's like, they're here and here. And, you know, Nico did Nico things basically. I've seen a few things being suggested, like Hunter going into the lurk role. And I don't see these changes being too impactful for G2. It's trying to find a new win condition. Because all their win condition in the last few seasons or so has been just Monacy. Monacy is better win position. If Monacy pops off and Nico and Hunter have a semi-good game, they win. Because Monacy's been solo carrying this team for a good while. And Nico and Hunter haven't been performing. Sorry, you gone?
Yeah, I think Malbs would be that good addition as like you can get like your entry is more likely to get like that killer. So like if you expect from Hootie to go in and get you info, Malbs would go and get you a kill and your info. That's just like the upgrade that I think that like would really help like them play and like win like without the full use of Monacy.
Yeah, because Monacy's been performing miracles basically to try and win them the game. Like you don't get that from any AWPer. Like Monacy is like one of a kind of like the things he pulls off. And it's like pretty much with Hooksy and Nexo, just ignore them for the moment. They're not win conditions, okay? They don't win unit maps. And G2 desperately need to add a win condition at least, because like I say, the IGL in the system in G2 isn't a win condition, okay? It's not the IGL, it's not the coach, it's not, you know, your support players. It's just Nico, Hunter, and Monacy popping off. And I'm sorry to really reduce it down to that, because everyone's gonna be like, no, come on, Josh, the IGL's important. But it seems as key to success is those 3 players.
Yeah, it's more like pack. Yeah. So they're where all the like, they're where everything happens. Where you move your main source of players around, it's always going to be the IGL, your opener, and then probably Orpa, but sometimes like your Orpa or Lurk. But it's just gonna be those like 3-4 players walking around the map, getting stuff done, and if they win, you win. If they lose, your Lurker looks like he's baiting, and he's gonna have bad stats. He's gonna walk into a crossfire, and it's a 1v4.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what's been going on in G2, and it's like the AWP isn't the most reliable thing to be walked around in a pack with. It's like sometimes you just get like flashed, pushed, and like you lose, nothing you can do about it. So I do think like it is true that the riflers in that pack, if they're on, you win that game. And I think the only problem with riflers being on is that Malbs is becoming an anchor on CT side, and when he transitions to T side, would he still be able to do that? Because I think I said similar to Donk opener on T side, really sharp, but he's also the CT aggressor on the CT side, so he's warm on both sides. So he should be performing the whole game, which is like what I see going wrong with Malbs.
Yeah, so you're meaning like you're adjusted to different styles of play. Like he has to be passive, then aggressive, passive, then aggressive. And it's just not a good state because you can't really balance. Or if you can balance the two styles, great. But it can be tough to balance the two styles.
Yeah, of course.
So you're going to make, passive aggressive comments to your teammates being like, if that was me, if that CT side had been pushed, 2 kills easy, mate.
Of course.
But so overall, that's what I thought with G2 is that Hooksy and Nexa, I agree with Richard Lewis's tweet. Hooksy has no impact on G2 winning. It's not like a blade system in VP. Sorry, VP, sorry. Na'Vi. Sorry, getting my teams mixed up, okay? And then you got Blade, coach.
Blade, sorry, coach.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's not a blade system, and it's not a Cadian system in Heroic, okay? It's not a team-based system where you get a bunch of random plebs together and you play a certain system and, calculate by the numbers, you may win. Kind of similar to VP, for example. G2 is a lot different. It relies a lot on its star players. So that's why I felt that Hooksy and Nexa, as Richard said, isn't really important in the equation because you can replace them with anybody. Now, this is going to be misconstrued, I know, but you could replace them with practically any tier 1 or tier 2 player, and you may get similar results to what Hooksy did.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you think about that? Sorry, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm trying to think. I mean, well, I don't think there's also many like really good players available right now in Europe. As you see, like all the roster changes, like there'll be like picking up people you'd have never heard about, and like you'll complain about them. But I think with GT, you kind of saw it with Stewie. Like you put him in the entry role, and that's like the easiest thing for him to like fill and get info with. Yeah. And Nico like fighting on that. I think there was also like I think in Hootsy's message like a little bit of conflict between Hootsy and some of the players or the coaches. So I think they've been like that for so long that replacing Hootsy with Stewie and playing Stewie as the entry, I think using G2's own words, the vibes were better. And that's just like the change I needed to like a breath of fresh air. Like that they have someone with a new perspective. They maybe like playing with that person more. They have like none of those like negative thoughts anymore, and they're just playing like the game and enjoying it more. But like that's just like extrapolation from like a couple of like messages from like a couple of players.
Also, I've got to say as well, this actually leans onto a bit more. Do you think G2's roster was over-criticized?
I think it was, because I think role changes can be fixed somewhat easily. Like, they have the time, they have the resources to educate and like really drill that player into their new role. So I think all these role change like clashes shouldn't be looked in too much. And I really think that like before judging like all these roster changes based on stats and paper, you can wait for them to play a tournament and then look at what happens. And then of course they're gonna say like it's our first tournament, give us a break. Yeah. So like depending on the length of it, you can just kind of see how that went. Maybe like second, third tournament in, and then you can make a really solid judgment from that.
Yep, give him like 3 or 6 months basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it takes a while.
Yeah, because you're gonna have Snacks install his system basically. So you're gonna take out the Hooksy hard drive and put in the Snacks hard drive, which is just
Of course.
a giant picture of a plow, but with G2 in front of the VP sticker.
Yes.
Yep.
Pal's a bit slower though in CS2 movement system, but it still might plow.
Oh, you got to put the V8 in or the V12, put the V12 engine in, and go vroom, or whatever V they're up to these days. Probably like V30. I don't know. Probably environmentalists have stopped it already. What do you think Hooksy and Nexa will go before we finish with this subject? You know, with obviously Nexa's gone to bleed because Kassad seemingly grabs the scraps and puts them in. But where do you think Hooksy's going to go?
I mean, I think a lot of teams in Tier 1 play are holding on to their IGLs for like good reason. Alexi's a good one. Suhi's like one of the best young IGLs, and if you watch his demos, like he's very sharp in his positions and he IGLs really well. And I think players like Glaive, Carrigan, and like Kading, you can't really rival their experience. The team's like sticking with them, even though their performance isn't like currently the best.
Kading's benched.
That's because Liquid's in shambles with all their roster changes.
Yeah.
And they're selling Yekindar. But I think he's going to have a hard time sticking to a team unless it's one that will probably disband within 3 months. And because like that's probably just changing rosters a lot. But I think he's just looking for a Tier 1 team, and it's taking him a very long time to find one. Maybe probably next off season probably find a good team.
Mm-hmm. You reckon he could slot into like a Game of Legion or a Tier 2 team looking in instead? You know, just to put the downtime and see what he can do? Like
as a coach or as IGL?
IGL, because obviously Game of Legion's lost to IGL because the Snacks went to G2.
Yeah, I think Hooch's side said no to that one.
Yep.
For some reason. But I mean, slotting into a Tier 1 team as an IGL would be good because you can experience different players.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think G2 has been together as like a 4-man for 3 or 4-man for a while. So it's like you could learn more from going to different teams. So I do think that if he had the chance to go to a really good Tier 1 team or maybe like a really good Tier 2 team, you can get a lot more experience.
Yeah.
Just like playing with different people.
I think the worst part...
I mean, he's probably double my age and has been playing the game for 10 years longer than me. So what do I know?
Actually, you know what? We'll check Hooksy's age for you, okay? So you see if you can... I'm trying to remember, because I remember Hooksy playing for good old Copenhagen Flames back in the day. No, yeah, you're quite right. Hooksy's close to being W age. He's 29. So
yeah, that's close enough.
Close enough. I'll take that comment. I'll take that. I think overall with Hooksy, I think Tier 2 team probably don't experience. No one in Tier 1 is looking for IGLs. It seems like a lot of Tier 1 teams are looking for AWPers and riflers as well. And it's just like Hooksy's just doomed. His low stat rate's never going to get him in. And he's just going to purely be an IGL or a coach or anything like that. Anything you want to talk about with G2 and Snacks and on that topic in particular?
No, really. I think I've run it try.
Yeah, I think we've covered that one off in particular. I think it's just wait a few months, don't build a narrative that this roster's doomed. And that, we'll wait and see. I think this roster's got some legs because a good entry, as you said, is probably what G2 needed. It wasn't everyone saying the anchor or the IGL. It's just someone who could just ram the plow through the brick wall, basically.
Yep.
Make sure we just screw it on right, drill it on, the plow, the G2 plow. Actually, if they do win a tournament, would they be called the G2 plow if Snacks is IGLing?
Maybe. You saw G Stu, so you might see the G2 plow. And
okay, this is a big question, okay? Who gets the Mercedes out of that roster?
Wait, there was a Mercedes?
Oh, okay, there's a VP Mercedes back in the day that Taz got the Mercedes, and VP started going downhill afterwards. So in G2, he'll get the Mercedes, and then G2 goes downhill.
Who would take the Mercedes?
I'm going with Nico.
I mean, probably. He'll take it, return as a coach.
Nico looks like a player that would be driving Mercedes, 100%. Anyway,
probably.
Let's get to the next topic. And the next topic is the Esports World Cup. So the Esports World Cup, we'll talk about both the ISF, that first one with the Aussies triumphing over the New Zealanders. How do you think that
Yeah.
game went in the end? I mean, there was a lot of emergency subs with Danger and Chelios being subbed in for Denvin and Cookie. And I gotta say, those were actually it was actually a bit of a
Definitely
surprise to
pretty
me.
well.
Yeah, it was actually surprised me that Barrier Free because I was looking at it going like, oh god, this is doomed. And even Neokai and Anders were saying we're expecting a 2-0 to Australians. But it was actually very, very close. And what are your thoughts about it?
So one, I think they organized the tournament really poorly. I had no idea that I was on, and I only caught the demos like by going through like 14 like links
Yeah.
from like the web page where it was being hosted.
Yeah.
And then two, this might be a little bit of misinformation from Payne, who was on the Australian team,
Mhm.
but they were trolling on the second map. It should have been a 2-0. They
Yeah.
locked in the third game and brought it home. But I do think the double subs from the New Zealand side
Yeah.
really crippled the team. Like, there's nothing you can do if half your team is
Yeah.
like playing for like the first time
Mhm.
out of nowhere.
What do you think of like the Barrier Free overall? Like, do you think the Nubis comeback was fairly decent? I'd say overall, like not Mind Freak, sorry. Team Australia looked very good on Mirage, pretty much. Like they looked very good. Like I don't think anyone was getting into that side.
Yeah, I think with just like, I mean, Team Australia is just Mind Freak with Reckons,
Yeah.
and they've been practicing for that specifically. So I think that they just had like all their team structures, all their procedures, all their like set rounds just like ready to go. And like playing against a full structured team that like knows what they're doing, has played together for a while, and you're coming in as Team New Zealand, who is a collection from a bunch of rosters.
Yeah.
You don't have that like solidness that Australia would have. Just like you have someone calling and everyone is kind of playing where they feel that they'd be playing and people are feeling. So I just think that like, especially on like Australia being a C side and NZ being T side, we're kind of just hoping for a pop-up of a player.
Yeah.
And I think Nedic didn't really provide that, which is who I think everyone was looking towards, getting maybe like 30 kills and just winning it for New Zealand. So I think with the lack of that impact, it was just over for New Zealand.
Yeah.
Just like pretty much.
What do you think about the third map in particular? Because obviously Payne, I think it was a technical issue with Payne in the end, and they subbed in Kiro. Do you think that made any impact for Team Australia?
I couldn't find the third map on a demo.
Oh, yeah, I tried to find that as well.
Because Payne had a technical issue, but I only found out after the match, and I looked at the match like scores. So I don't know what anything happened during the third map. All I know is they won.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, because I could try to find a demo as well, and it was just like no stats or anything like that. So yeah, Kiro subbed in, and Gump won about 2 key clutches. Like Gump won 2 1v1s, I believe. And I think he may have won one of them, maybe a 1v2, but I'm not terribly too sure. But it sounded pretty good. Any other opinions on it before we move on? I think pretty much it was like Team Australia just won due to the 2 emergency subs, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Mind Freak playing a 5-man pod.
Yep. And so let's talk about the Esports World Cup overall. Obviously, the big event, the 15 teams and stuff like that as well. So you got Spirit, Navi, FaZe, Complexity, Furia, G2, Vitality, Mouse, VP, Sashi. Yeah, you know that meme with the COD players and there's that clown costume guy in the middle of it? That's like probably Sashi there with the European qualifier. Then you got M80.
The funny small side story about Sashi is that Blizz bet on them. Bet on Astralis to go on a winning streak, and the first match was Sashi, and they beat Astralis and like ruined his bet straight away. That was funny as.
Well, that's unfortunate.
So I can't really say that they're the bad team out of all of them, but they probably will be.
No, what I'm saying is the odd one out. You didn't expect Sashi to honestly qualify in the European qualifier with like teams like Cloud9, Astralis, and stuff like that as well. And then you got M80, MIBR, FlyQuest, the Mongos, and Jijahal, which qualified via Middle Eastern qualifiers. Now, this tournament structure is very weird because it's 15 teams, and this is the weird part about the opening stage. They're basically in the playing stage is your kind of like your last chance gauntlet. Jijihao have already been put into the playing stage, and then the 14 other teams play a BO3, and the winner of that BO3 goes straight to the playoffs. And then the 7 losing teams have to play via play-ins. Give me an idea of this sort of structure. Like, what is this structure? Like, I don't understand it. It's just like you lose one BO3, now you have to go to hell and win 3 BO3s, otherwise no playoffs. That's what it's telling me.
I think for JJ How, it's. I mean, the only experience I have with like really big brackets and regions and like internationals is maybe like the like worlds from League.
Yeah.
So I think just JJ How comes from like a disadvantaged region. Like you have NA, you have like South America, you have Oceania, and then you have like Europe, and then like just like the Middle East. So you have like the main regions who get spots.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes that like the smaller regions all get grouped together, and like the winner of that one gets straps, and that's what happened with them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they have like the short stick.
Yeah.
But I think with like the tournament bracket, like I had it up on HLTV earlier when we were talking, but I just think it's hard to like look at. It doesn't really make sense from like that, like the play-ins into like the opening round into play-ins and like the last chances. A bit confusing to start off with, but I do think that if you're making teams play a bunch of BO3s for like a chance to qualify for like the playoffs, by the time they get there, either they pull an Eternal Fire in Major and they're really warm and they beat the first they beat the team that got in the easy way.
Yeah.
Or I think they'll just be burnt out and like pull a phase and just bum out of the competition like semis. I do think it's a good time to be playing a lot of matches straight after player break. So there's positives and negatives for both sides.
Yeah, I'd say overall, my opinion is like, it's really odd. To be honest, I think it's really like from an integrity point of view, Jisha doesn't really get to fight for its ability to even play in these play-in matches. I feel like they could have just invited an extra team like your Liquid or 9Z, and then bam, you 16 teams, 2 GSL groups, even 4 GSL groups, sort it out, up and down matches, and then put in the playoffs that way. It's a lot easier. You don't have to go through these higgledy-piggledy setups. And I think overall, from my PV, you can have your opinion on this as well. From the viewer's perspective, you're going to have 2 days potentially of no playoff teams, no big draw teams. Like, if Vitality win, FaZe win, G2 win, which like I say, G2 could lose as well, because Mongols are a pretty good team. You could have all your viewership draw cards, Mouse and Team Spirit included as well, gone. And the real draw cards is just from the South American region, which could be Furia or MIBR. What do you think about it from that perspective?
Yeah, I think with the amount of like pure, really big name teams in there, and then with like some teams playing more matches, some teams playing less, I think with that initial split up from the opening round, you will have enough teams that like of a high caliber and high draw card in that like in that long slug. And I think with like some teams pulling more fans, like over than what like their skill level like determines, I think throughout the whole thing there will be enough viewership to like keep it running, because I don't think all the good teams will make it cleanly through. There's too many good teams for it to happen. Yeah. Like it won't be a Vitality at Blast.
Yeah, because for example, you got the VP complexity. I agree with you on that. Either team that loses there, that'll be a draw card. Fury v Na'Vi, same thing. Either one will be a draw card.
Yeah.
Spirit,
both teams will pull.
Yeah,
because Fury is also like a really big team in South America where a lot of viewers would probably watch from.
Oh, exactly. I was about to mention the last one. Team Spirit v MIBR. That's even the bigger one. Yeah.
Up and comers MIBR, I've heard a lot of good things about them, especially from my coach.
I was going to say FaZe. Oh, no, actually, there's actually 2 more. FlyQuest v FaZe Clan. I think FlyQuest, I'm not sure if FlyQuest is that big.
FlyQuest are the favorites to win that one.
And lastly, G2 v Mongos. I completely forgot that. I've even got a Mongos fan in my chat. And I forgot about that one. That one's going to draw a card regardless. I guess I can understand your point. You've got 5 matchups where you have a draw card regardless in that play-ins. Yep. From my POV, I just don't get the integrity point of view. I feel really bad for Zhizha Hull because they didn't get to fight for it. Like, they went through their qualifiers and then they're stuck in the lower bracket. They get, like, 1 BO3, they lose that, they're going home. It's kind of like what happened.
Remind me again, is the Esports World Cup held in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, it's in Riyadh.
And then Zhizha Hull are the Middle Eastern qualified team?
Yeah. Oh.
Because I'm pretty sure that's it like sounds like they've done a local invite qualifier and put them in instead of taking a team from a major region. Because it should be rounded out to 14 or 16 players. Yeah. I think that they've just biased, given them a spot, But to make it fair, just put them in the last chance.
I think overall, I think you should just up it to 16 teams. Like, even bring Falcons in there if you want to at this stage. I mean, they're a team that's locally
Oh yeah,
nearby.
wait, they didn't make it.
Yeah, Falcons didn't make it. But, like, like, this is why I don't get the 15-team bracket, if you get what I mean. If you have 16, it makes it a lot easier. And, like, from Gigi Hull, that, it's kind of like the Valorant situation, when the OCE teams were going to go over, but they didn't, obviously, due to COVID. And they could have been eliminated after one BO3, and they would come back home. It's just like, what's the point? It's a less extreme example, but I feel like Gigi Hull should have some chance. Like, the only tournament structure that I've had that's had this, where over half the teams make playoffs, was ESL Challenger in America and Europe, where 10 teams made it to the playoffs. But at least in the round robin setup, you could fight for your spots. So if you came first or second, you go into the upper bracket round 2. If you came 7th or 10th, you're in the lower bracket immediately, but at least you could have fought for that spot. So you first every single team. And if you lose, you get put to 7th and 10th because it's your own fault. With Gigi Hull in this setup, they haven't really fought for it, you get what I mean? It's just like, oh, well, you're the lower seeded team, to the lower bracket you go. It's just like, huh? Like, come on, can you let me at FlyQuest or, Sashi? Like, maybe I could pick any of them. That's how I feel when, what do you think about that?
I do think it's like a shame that if they were forced to play in the qualifier that gave them that lower chance spot, I do think that is a little bit dog. Like, they could have technically fought for it in that major region or minor region slot, which would have given them the upper thing, and it ran it down to 14 teams.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the neutral response to give to that region. But once again, I think it is just local invite balanced out.
Yep.
And then that's what happened.
Now, less about the structure. I think I've rabbited on too much about it. Who's going to win this tournament? Because this is like I am Dallas all over again.
FlyQuest.
Serious? Why do you think FlyQuest is going to win?
Because I have a lot of copium for any team that comes from Australia. I love my region, and I do anything for it.
Man, this sounds like my comedy stick up on the desk if I ever go on a desk. I'll be like, I am Australian, therefore FlyQuest will win every match and they're the best team ever in the history of CS2, okay?
Two O's, the whole thing.
Yep. I'm thinking, this is so difficult, okay? I watch a lot of CS2 content in particular. I watch, Feed the Trolls a lot. And this is a really hard one, so what I took out. It's really hard to pick who's going to win tournaments because there's 6 or 7 teams that can win the damn thing. And you're just Mouse can win it. Sui, Torzy, Zersh, and also that Jim Fats on the God's break. And you go to FaZe, you got Frozen and Rops. And you go to Navi, you got Emir and JL, and it's just and Wonderful as well. You go to Team Spirit, you got Donk, and it's just like Sideshow Bob and his rakes, he just walks into the rake, he's like, oh, you've got all these teams that can win. But it's just how do you pick the right one? I think in this event, I think Spirit's going to win this. Okay, I reckon Donk is very, very strong, and he's going to get stronger. And they've got a good AWP backup in Shiro, and I've got great support players as well. And I think it'll be a very close tournament between them and FaZe in the grand final.
Between FaZe,
yeah,
that's interesting. I do think that teams like Mouse and the teams for me that will consistently make high tier placements would be your Spirit, your Mouse.
Exactly, this is what I'm talking about.
In and out. I used to be a FaZe fan, and it's just too much on the heart. You
definitely
think you're gonna win, and then you lose to a tier 2 team out of nowhere. Navi are pretty similar to FaZe, so most of my things I put into Spirit and Mouse, which are fine. My favorite team to watch is Spirit, because if you watch them as a strategic thing, it is very simple what they are doing.
Yeah,
you can kind of take one for one Spirit's entire setup for every single round, and it works because it's so bland. You can guess a Spirit setup just by looking at the map, and then it just works because their players are so sharp, which is it comes into question consistency.
Yeah.
Kind of a player that's sharp the entire match, the entire tournament, all year round.
Yeah.
But Spirit hasn't seen that drop off of Donk, drop off of Shiro, and their anchors are still really good, and Chopper is still calling simple stuff. they're just winning all their done fights. So I just think that like where FaZe and Na'Vi either like they like them 50-50, like win or lose any match in the tournament. It just feels that way. But I think with Spirit and then Mouse as well, but they have a lot more like complexity. They're just like the form that they're currently in is just very consistently good, and it just beats out like teams from like FaZe and Na'Vi who just make like unlosable matches like losses.
Yeah, do you think it's like kind of like over egging the pudding? Like I remember this from Gordon Ramsay. Okay, now we're going from CS2 to MasterChef. Okay, so Gordon Ramsay tests all his chefs on how well they can cook scrambled eggs, a simple dish. Kind of like Spirit strategy. They're always cooking the scrambled eggs, you know, put a bit of pepper, put a bit of, you know, parsley. I'm naming herbs at random now. Don't put parsley in scrambled eggs, okay? They just, you know, how well they cook the scrambled eggs and how delicious it tastes. And then Na'Vi and FaZe are like, you know, stuck in, you know, trying to make the most best breakfast, the French toast with like waffles and whipped cream and whatever. And Na'Vi's just like, scrambled eggs, they'll love it. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, because I think when you watch like the European teams, the big like your phases and your Navis, it's a lot of counter shotting, and that's like because they have the team behind them, they have the coach, the analyst, the assistant coach.
Yeah,
they have a lot of that team watching enemy demos, watching your demos, finding your strengths and weaknesses, and abusing that. And like it's very specific, and then just like they have a lot that they can do to punish a player, but it's just like that in paper should work because of how like specialized it is.
Yeah.
But like if something goes wrong in that specialization, which is what like players like Donk can do, because like you know where he will play, but it's like he's just gonna win that majority of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's a confidence.
What can you do against a player who just you know what he's gonna do, but he does it and you can't stop it.
I gotta say, FaZe have been, ironically enough, one team that has stopped Donk a bit, 'cause I think they're the ones that have been always upsetting Spirit as well. So
yeah,
they've got to have found something. But for you gonna say Team Spirit's gonna win entire thing?
I said what I said earlier. I'll stick to that one.
Yeah, well,
it's the best response for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you as well. Like, you know, Spirit's just, as I said before, going to beat FaZe in the finals. They're just a little bit above the other teams. But like, you just look at these teams, like, you know, it's so hard to have an era. You know how I had that Astralis era. It's so hard to have an era now because there's 6 teams always in the running. Like when Pimp said that Na'Vi may not be in the top 5, I'm like, yeah, he could be right. Na'Vi could be 6, and they were 6. So you got your G2, you got your Team Spirit, you got Na'Vi, you got Vitality, you got your FaZe, you got your Mouse. And the worst part is these 6 teams, they're not like, you know, well and above everyone else. They've still got like, you know, teams like Complexity, Virtus Pro, ignoring Furia, of course, and MIBR, and Mongols as well, chomping at their ankles, basically. If they make one wrong move, you know, they're fed to the Mongols, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to watch. There's no, like, one-sided sweeps anymore, but I feel like with all, like, the very high-tier teams, like, it may get stale because, like, everyone's performing well. You can kind of see that. Yeah. Everyone is going even with everyone, so, like, you don't want to change stuff because you might just, like,
definitely
with, like, one wrong monster move. But, like, it does make it very hard, and kind of saw that with like, I mean, the most like easy response I can give is you kind of saw that with like the Pitlims for Copenhagen.
Yeah.
When like no one could predict what happened because everyone is just so even. It's not like 80-20 matches; it's 50-50 for everything.
Yeah. Like for example, like
that's good for viewers.
Yeah. Well, definitely. For example, like I am Dallas. I mean, you previously it was like, you know, hey, you could probably sneak in via the quarterfinals and great, you know, it's 4 good teams and whatnot. Now it's an achievement to even get into the playoffs. Like, I looked at the event, I was doing the, you know, pick for my style for review, and I was like going, I don't see a path where FlyQuest is qualifying, they're going to get eliminated. Like, I'm just seeing, like, all these different paths and being like, they're fucked. Like, they are literally fucked. Like, there's, like, in ESO Pro League previously, they had a bit of a path, you know, Bet Boom, they could beat, Liquid, they could beat 50-50 matches. I was looking at Iron Dallas, I'm like, yeah, you're versing a Heroic Brick Wall, a Na'Vi Brick Wall, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't see a path for you guys. And I'm just seeing it for other teams as well. I'm just like, yeah, I don't see a path for you guys. There's too many good teams that will just lock you out just like that.
Yeah, but I think once you get past that stage into the next one, it's a lot more like just like good teams versus good teams. And it's like it's very hard to predict it, so it's probably bad for the fans, but good for the viewers.
Yeah, like I gotta say, like as soon as you get to that stage, like I am Dallas, the 6 teams remaining is just like flip a coin. Well, heads, they win, tails, you lose kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyways, we get to the next one and the final part of it all. Probably a less different topic with the CS in particular. But this is one in particular because this was highlighted with Electronic. So, Electronic, when he joined VP, he was going to go to a HLTV interview. But then he heard the interview wasn't mandatory and decided not to. And this kind of leans into the AU scene in particular as well, as there's a lot of AU, I'm not sure, analyst, talent in particular, I forget who said it, that a lot of AU players avoid interviews in particular. Do you have any particular reason for it? A lot of people speculate, of course, a lot of introvert behavior and whatnot, and public speaking is very scary for a lot of people, understandably so. I mean, if you say the wrong word or anything like that, everyone's just stage fright. What do you think about it, Cross?
I could see that with the Australian scene. A lot of it is online. You kind of get a lot of players that are good that you would ask for an interview because they are so good. But the reason they're so good was probably because it's the amount of time they've spent dedicating themselves to the game. That their ability to do other stuff may be hindered. So coming onto an interview or like a podcast or something may be hard because they're just not used to it. And they're kind of sitting within CS being comfortable, and they just probably won't leave that.
Yeah. What do you think?
I also, yeah.
Continue, sir.
I think it would be really good for Australian up and comers, people that are good to come in and just talk and kind of put themselves up as much as possible. Because if you believe that you are that good in the server, other people should know how good you are and can judge you for that. So you can get your rep up and your experience up just through exposure.
And you can also build your character as well. You could be that, villainous, sort of thing, Henry G sort of role, where he's that villainous, in the Australian scene as he's English and stuff like that. Or you could build yourself, as a player knows it all, the master, the maestro, or even just Brokey sort of role as well. I mean, Brokey on camera is just serious, or he's just very funny at the same time. I did a mean glare into the camera just then, so with the Brokey on the sad face.
Yeah.
But
just lost a major sad face picture.
And it's got Navi celebrating in the background. What do you think would help players just get out of their shell in particular in regards to it? I mean, I assume Michelle, obviously psychologist of the scene, she's very public as well. She probably has some good ideas, but any ideas from your end in particular, how to get players just get into it, have a few interviews or whatnot?
Yeah, I think that within Australia, there's a lot of things about opportunity. We're a very small region, so there's not a lot of opportunities, but the thing is, we're a small region. So if you do have an opportunity, there's so much impact because everyone's gonna see that because just how small it is, everyone knows everyone. If you're not within that circle, no one knows you. You're either unknown or known. There's just nothing in between. So I think if you give these players opportunities to come out and show themselves to the rest of the community, it would be good to take that, but there's nothing you can really do to get these players in. They have to within themselves go yeah, I'm gonna do this. It's just you gotta mature, build skills in the real world and be yeah, this is something that I would do, and just take that step and do it. It's just nothing you can do. You can give them all opportunities, but it's up to them to take it.
Yeah, what I mean, internal process of that, not the external process of pressuring them. What sort of internal processes did you take to take all the interviews that you got in front of you? Or you're just that kind of guy?
No, I was always very introverted. Never talked to people. Never really wanted to do things for myself. I kind of just I let everything slide. I'm living, but I mean. It's going to uni, moving out of your house, moving out of your parents' house, being independent. It forces you to grow up, and that's just what comes with growing up. You do more stuff. You just say yes to everything, which is something that I learned maybe a year ago. If someone asks you something and it's not life impacting, that it's negative, just say yes to it. And it's what's the worst thing that can happen?
Do you watch Yes Man the movie? This is a funny joke, but anyways, because that's what it seems like.
No, it's my 7'5" uncle, a big Russian man who taught me just say yes to everything. I'm Sounds good. Okay.
Is his name like?
And then that's what I've been doing.
Is his name Rasputin by
Uh,
chance?
no, his name's Nick Blinoff. Wait,
Oh,
no, don't find that. Don't find that, guys.
no, don't
Oh
worry.
shit.
Don't worry about it. Okay, I was making a joke about Bodhi M. You know, Rasputin, Russia's favorite love machine. Have you heard of that song? Yeah, you're gonna see it.
Yes, I have. It was played at the Russian weddings that I've been to, unironically.
Oh, jeez. But so it's more of a just go do it. Like just say yes to every opportunity. Pretty much just dive into it. Basically, even if you don't experience it, like a lot of people get trapped by nerves and whatnot. You know, if they don't, you know, if they say anything wrong or anything like that. What do you want to say to that? Like, you know, is there any ways to deal with like if you say anything incorrectly or anything like that? Like, how do you like? How do you get over that hurdle that you just don't want to fail, basically?
I mean, one, it's experience, but two, to help with that process, it's like, unironically, slow down, and then also beforehand, do your research. Like, nervousness comes from, like, not knowing, and, like, you don't know what's gonna come. So, as long as you're fully prepared, you can kind of, like, just take it really slow, and just get out what you've prepared. And, like, the more you do that, and the more you put yourself out there, like, the nerves will fade eventually. I mean, you have to deal with it eventually. So just say yes and do it.
Yeah, I gotta say, like from my own experience, like basically for me coming to casting in particular, like I was casting friends' demos, then I casted like NA pro demos, and they like daring me to do stuff, and I'm just like, okay, you know, let's go do it. So I casted a live AU game, and then I started casting EU advanced games. I got actually really scared because I'm like, oh, are they gonna like, you know, stop the game to kick me out because I'm casting it? Because I had no idea. So I was sitting in there for a long time, and I pretty much like, it's the first time where I like felt like a team was hacking, and they were in the end. They got banned. I was like super nervy as hell that I was going to lose my ESL like broadcasting license for calling that out. In the end, I was correct. Like in the end, I was completely correct, and the guy there is like, dude, you need to chill. This is Misty, by the way. He's like, you need to chill, man. Like, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. Like, he didn't say anything about the case, but he said, like, yeah, I can understand why you say that as well. Like, you've got good info on that. And pretty much overall, like, I find it incredibly hard to talk to people in particular as well. And I think overall, what I did overall was, I'm really shitty at talking to people at the start. Like, you know, don't really give too much out, anything like that. Can look like unapproachable or whatnot. I think over time I've done a lot, and I think that's where you said experience helps as well. Like me
Experience
previously
with everything. It's very encompassing.
And overall for me at the end of the day, what I just stuck to, like with casting, is that assume everything you say is right with confidence and keep casting and just don't disrupt the flow. And I know I catch myself in times where I disrupt the flow, but other times when I'm just keep on going, everything just goes completely well. And I think that's what, you know, players have got to do as well. Just go with the flow, say yes to every opportunity, and just enjoy the chat. It's not like, you know, it's not a test where you succeed or fail. It's something like, it's a open-ended question, basically. It can go well, it can go poorly, but at the end of the day, you learn something. I guess that's what fail is called. I think they have that acronym. First attempt in life or failure.
Yeah. I mean, you learn from failures. That's a very well-known thing. It's just hard to do because no one wants to fail.
Exactly.
I'm very good at failing. 18 times I failed, and I'm coming back.
Oh man, I remember my first interview. Okay, I'll give you guys a bit of heads up in the crowd and also crowds. First interview was with Ruffleco, and Ruffleco, I didn't know that you could have your webcam mic on Discord, so I was trying to deal with it in particular. But Ruffleco had his webcam mic on Discord. It was an accident, obviously. Ruffleco had no idea, and he completely bled my ears. And the interview was not that great, and I put me off interviewing for a bit because I'm just like, oh, you know, it could happen again. But in the end, I was looking at the ANZ Champs channel and whatnot and see how good interviews were. And I'm just sitting there going, I have no idea how to set, you know, this camera up and stuff like that. And after about, you know, 6 or 9 months of me being like, oh, interviews are too hard, I remember Matsy giving me an idea of how he produced a show with Video Ninja. And I'm like, maybe I could use Video Ninja in Discord and see how it works. And I got it done in 15 minutes, and I've sat there for about 6 months being like it's too hard and whatnot, and I resolved it in 15 minutes. Okay.
That's the most things you can overcomplicate something you don't know about, but as soon as you know about it, like all the overcomplication just goes out the window. It's like, yeah, this is how it's always been, and it's like until you know that, you don't know.
Hey, this is what's starting on the podcast as well. Like, same thing what happened to that as well so fortunately a lot of people helped me out. Like I was like going, how do we even start a podcast? How do we even get guests? I'm just like, just DM people, see what happens.
Shrubby tagged me in that post. I saw that.
Yeah.
I just got acquainted to him through a friend, and he's been telling me about stuff as a very old time player, which is nice. And so I end up here.
Has Shrubby ever told you, okay, about the time when he solo took a B site on Mirage on an anti-eco or on eco? Because the player pushing him walked past him, and they all rotated to A, thinking he was there, but he wasn't. He was in the same smoke as their B player pushing through, and he got a free plant on B. It's the most craziest play I've seen ever. But
was this in like an official or something?
Yeah, it was in one of the ANZ main games. It was like so confusing because it was just like, I call it perfect strangers when you go past each other in smokes and don't hit each other. Because you know you've gone past each other, but you don't know. It's kind of a reference to...
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, it's a reference to an INX song. It's okay. You can tell I'm a real boomer, okay? In excess, yep.
It's showing.
Yeah, yep. And so that happened. It was actually quite funny. And yeah, I'd say overall, like, Shrubby obviously telling a lot of people in the scene, he's been very good as well. Really appreciate him as well. Also, got to say shout out to Tito as well, like for the logo. Tito's just like, hey man, you need a logo, you need help out? Oh yeah, here you go, here's the logo. And then one of my buddies who like helped out with fonts because they found the font for the CS stuff, which was high speed. They're like, bro, you can just buy a license for that. I'm like, oh, license probably like $100, right? No, it's $15 for a commercial license of this font. And I'm like, what? Like, let's go. Like, geez, like I didn't think it was that cheap. But I think the thing is, as you said before, is just go do it. Like, just sort it out bit by bit by bit. I think one thing in particular, I got this in high school, back in the prehistoric ages where dinosaurs were still around. One of my mates who was in maths, okay, me and him were really good at maths, so we were playing chess. We had finished the assignments and whatnot. Everyone else was struggling, but me and him were really, really good. And he says, just think of anything like sticks. Because if you think everything like a circle, you're just going to go around in circles. But if you think of like sticks, you just chuck one out every time you solve it, you'll get through in life. And that's what I put to there in particular. It's just like, okay, so interview with this person. Yep, what are they going to ask about the game? Yep. Are they going to ask anything about me personally? What I want to disclose? Yep. And that's pretty much how I went. Like, would that sort of approach work?
Yeah. I mean, everything in life can be broken down to small tasks. You just do them one by one, and something bigger will happen. But I mean, it's better to just anything's better than not doing anything, which is what the circle represents.
Yep.
Because if you're doing something over and over and nothing's happening, it might as well just be insane.
Also, as well, like I say, I forgot to even mention alternatives. But alternative as well to like not doing interviews and anything like that. It's potentially like writing as well, or even doing the interviews yourself if you feel that oriented. Like, for example, when I started, writing my own journal articles, as bad as some of them are sometimes, it felt like a new avenue where I could really express myself and really impact the scene overall with the various stuff I've done and learn stuff along the way as well. Because I'll tell you right now, I've never done any fucking journalist courses, and you could probably see in the first few articles of mine that, some of them are pretty bad. Like, there are other ways of expressing instead of taking interviews. You get what I mean?
Yeah, of course. But it's probably the easiest one. Like, speech comes naturally to everyone. It's just putting your thoughts into words, and anyone can do that.
Yep. What do you think overall, like, with Ruffleco and Foggers doing that particularly, is that more inspiration for other players to do it? Because, of course, James, well-known in the scene. Foggers, also well-known in the scene. Is it more inspiration for players to do that sort of demo review, do this sort of action, really take charge and just doing something different?
It is nice to hear from all these players because, I mean, due to like everything being online, it's very hard to put like everyone's thoughts into the server, and like you can't like take a lot out from just like seeing them.
Yeah.
And like if you put that face to name, if like you hear what they're talking about, you can relate to it. If you've been there and you have like connections, it's just like everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And get a lot of like insight from like that. Like
Yep.
I, I haven't watched all of the interviews, but I do watch a lot of them, and it's like, damn, he
I was,
mentioned something that I was a part of. That's cool.
I was referring to their content, like their demo reviews of like Zywoo and stuff like
Oh,
that
that
as
one.
well. I think I got a sort of an answer there. I think I'm putting the cart in front of the horse. Like they got that because they took the interviews first, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got from your answer. It's like, yeah, don't know, but if they did the interviews first, it makes that more impactful basically later on because they're well known. Because of course, Foggers is well known initially for me from that defrag video, obviously with the ESIC stuff, and James, well, the ESIC ad basically where he says, I'm not sure, it has like little cameo roles, kind of like Steel. Okay, you know how Steel has that role in Fragadelphia's ads where he's in the windowsill.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yep. So it's kind of like that sort of role. And Ruffleco is just James, of course. Okay, like James, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Everyone knows about him.
Everyone.
Knew about him before I was like doing anything in CS.
Yep. I think, like I said, I think that wraps it up. I think we've been through a lot of it in particular. I think your POV is just go out and do it, and just take it one step at a time. Just really just knock it out of the park. And it's more, I suppose, of an internal struggle. Okay, like not everything we say is going to work. Let's put it that way. Okay, it's just more internally, just going bit by bit, but take every opportunity that comes in front of you.
Yeah, that would be good.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to discuss before we end up here?
I would like to say the splims I lost today was because I've been on 3 hours of sleep for the past week.
Oh no, that's horrible, man. Yeah, I can have struggles with sleep. Oh man, are you one of those people that can't get back to bed when you wake up in the middle of the night, or you're the one person that wakes up and it's just like back to bed like in 2 seconds?
Once I'm asleep, I don't do anything but sleep. I'm like blackout cold. But the problem is I'm up until 4 a.m. in the morning, and I have to wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning, and it's just bad choices.
You are your own worst enemy. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Anyways, guys.
Yes.
Thank you guys for hanging out today in the chat. Really appreciate you guys. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This will be available on YouTube. So youtube.com/onlyjoshontv. You can subscribe and it'll be up probably tomorrow. Also, you can follow Kraz on Twitter at Kraz_CS. Do you have a YouTube or Twitch, Kraz?
Of course, I have a YouTube at KrazYT.
That's good.
Posting montages once a month when I feel like it.
That's a good schedule, okay? One of the funny YouTubers that I have, Technoblade, obviously the late Technoblade, obviously. He made a joke that, you can always post content beyond your death. It's called scheduled posting, okay? That's what I think you need to do, Kraz. Scheduled posting. So it's not every month. It's, every week you reveal like one part of your frag video. Anyways, great.
No, yeah.
Anyways, guys, Kraz, thanks for being on. Really, really appreciate it. And for a second time, actually, now it's in a more unofficial capacity. And I hope everyone in the chat has a great day, and bye for now.